Hello and welcome to a new Let's Play series on Warhammer 40,000 Armageddon. I'm your host Imperialis, and yeah, like I said, we're going to be starting a new LP of this. Came out earlier this week, and I've been quite enjoying it so far, so figured I would share it with you guys. Let me know if you're interested and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, so I've been a Warhammer 40K geek for some time, though I haven't played in a long bloody time. Back in high school, probably 90% of my paychecks from my part-time job went to buying miniatures and stuff like that, but then when I moved out of my parents' house and had to start paying rent and then mortgage and gas bills and all that sort of stuff, spending money took a hit, so I've continued to follow it to a degree though, but I haven't played since about 3rd edition, and I think they're up to like 5th or 6th now. But yeah, so I do tend to really enjoy the Warhammer computer games. It's a fascinating setting, so let's jump right in. I'm going to start a campaign. And I will start with the tutorial, because the tutorial has a fair bit of backstory, and the other cool thing about it is your units from each campaign carry through. So the tutorial units carry through to Act 1, carry through to Act 2, carry through to Act 3, and so it creates more of a sense of continuity between your units, and you can get more familiar with them and have them gain experience and all of that sort of stuff. The tutorial mission is just training though. But yeah, it'll also give me a chance to explain some of the mechanics behind it, because my one major critique of this game is that nothing is terribly well explained. And unless you have a pretty good understanding of Warhammer, you're going to be totally lost. I think there's like 15 different variants of Lehman Russ battle tanks alone, and if you don't know what the difference between a Punisher cannon and a las cannon is, you're going to have a tough go of it. So give me a chance to explain some of that sort of stuff too. So let's get started. I'm not going to talk during the voiceovers, because I do like the voice acting in this too. They got some really good voice actors, even though it is fairly low budget and just sort of, they're not proper cutscenes, they're just pictures popping up and people talking, but it does give you a good sense of the overall campaign. And the campaign itself is based on the Second War for Armageddon, which in Warhammer lore is when a massive orc invasion takes place on a imperial world called Armageddon. It's a hive world, so it basically exists to produce massive amounts of infantry and people. They live in the world is extremely toxic and nasty and a horrible place to live, but people crowd together in these massive hive spire cities that stretch up into the atmosphere for many kilometers, just built on top of each other, and there's billions and billions of people living on them. And again, I mean, it's Warhammer, it's ridiculous, but also highly entertaining. So let's go. A huge space hulk appears in the Armageddon system. It is believed uninhabited, but Commissar Yarrik, who is another character from the 40k lore, famous for the Battle of Armageddon, is alarmed by its presence and organizes training sessions in Steel Legion units to make sure they are ready for any emergency. And the Steel Legion is the Imperial Guard on Armageddon and the Planetary Defense Force for Armageddon. So let's give her. And I'm just going to play on normal. And I'm going to have the Fog of War on and Undo on. The Undo mechanic is pretty neat. It's based, well, the whole system is based on the Panzer Corps series by Lord's Game Studios, who also produced this, and it works well for simulating Warhammer. So we'll call ourselves just call ourselves Let's Play.
Congratulations on your promotion, Commander. The Steel Legion needs more officers like yourself, especially as recruitment stations are becoming scarcer due to these cutbacks. In any case, you have been assigned north to Hive Deathmire and Armageddon Prime.
And you can respond in this, and it actually has a branching storyline. You can go in multiple different directions. So, Hive Death March, I thought all junior officers were being deployed to Hive and Furnace for ranging exercises into the Palladius Mountains. Or when do we leave? So I'm going to be like, what
You
the?
will soon realize ours is not to question why, Commander, especially a lower-ranking Juve officer. You and your freshly mustered battalion have been requisitioned by Sebastian Yarrik from the 4th Regiment up in Deathmire, if you must know.
And then we can say Sebastian too, who it'll give some background on Yarrik. Which, hey, let's go for it.
Sebastian Yarrik is an aging commissar, well regarded off-world if the rumors at the spaceports are to be believed. Apparently, he and von Straub do not get on, but the governor allows the old paranoid commissar the odd request to keep him from interfering in other matters. And this space hulk that's appeared in system has him even more agitated and paranoid than normal. They say he's as tough as a Catachan devil, so don't mess him around.
Greetings, Commander. I'll keep this short as I'm not the chatty type. You need to show me what you can do. I dislike weak leadership. It gets soldiers killed, and I consider that a waste. This space hulk inbound. Von Straub's fawning circle of advisors would have us believe it is uninhabited space junk, but I'm not so sure. There are many warnings of dark times ahead. The statue of the Emperor in Hell's Reach even weeps tears of blood. I need you and your battalion battle-ready. I'll leave you with Drill Sergeant Goyle. Technically you outrank him, of course, but he speaks as if my words were his. Don't disappoint me.
In this exercise, using non-lethal ammunition against another newly mustered battalion, also led by a junior officer. According to my reports, you may know each other from your Schola Progenia days. Commander Venbar Jackson? In any case, don't let Schola ties affect your performance. Remember, you are under the Commissar's scrutiny.
Okay, so welcome to your first Warhammer Armageddon mission. This tutorial will teach you everything you need to know, which it really doesn't. Read the instructions, close the message box. Tactical map, covers most of the screen. That's this bit. I have the hexes turned on. I know it kind of visually jarring, but it makes it a lot easier for counting hexes for range and stuff like that. Scrolling, giving orders. Skip over that stuff, it doesn't really matter. So our mission objective here is capture the 3 victory hexes. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So we can move and attack once per turn, and the way you figure this out is, unfortunately, you have to zoom right in, and you can see if they have a move. If there's an arrow, they can still move. If they've got a bullet, they can attack. So these are Hive Militia with auto pistols, and this is where the game starts to get confusing because of the massive variety of units and weapons. Especially weapons. I mean, there's 300 units, but so many of them are variants on one another. But this is well, we're on the Salamander Scout here, so we'll start with that. So it's a light vehicle. There are 7 vehicles in this unit. That's what the strength means. And each vehicle has 2 hit points. Now, this is something that is definitely not well explained, and every other Let's Play I've seen of this so far has caused major confusion. So when you mouse over a unit, it gives you projected casualties. So in this case, I'll take 0 casualties, he'll take 8. However, that is 8 hit points of damage. So with the Salamander, if he were to take 8 points of damage, he would lose 4 units. Because each unit has 2 hit points. If he takes 1 point of damage, he won't even lose a unit. Just his health would go down. Less of an issue with infantry, because most of the infantry, until you start dealing with Space Marines and like crazy armored orcs and stuff like that, only have 1 hit point. So here, the number of units, or men in the unit, is 20, and each man has 1 hit point. So, yeah. That's reasonably straightforward. This is a heavy bolter unit. A heavy bolter is I guess talk about the weapons now. So you can see here we've got our regular infantry are armed with las guns. They're basically laser rifles. They have a range of 2. They do 20 damage. They have no armor piercing, and each one shoots twice. So that means that this unit of 40 will put 40 shots down range at these guys if they were in range, but they're at range 3 right now, so they can't. Compare that to the Salamander, where we have an autocannon. It has a range of 3. 40 attack strength, 10 armor piercing, and 3 shots, and a heavy bolter, which is similar to the autocannon. It just fires a little slower and doesn't have the armor piercing. And then these guys also have a heavy bolter, range of 3, 30 attack strength, 4 shots. So, going into the unit requisition here. So this is purchasing new units. I can't do it right now because I don't have any slots available in my army, but you've got different units and vehicles, and and actually here's the Sentinel. This is a good example of something totally different than any of the weapons that we currently have. The Sentinel is armed with a las cannon. So the las cannon does a lot of damage, has good armor penetration, but only shoots 1 per turn. So this is a tank buster. But again, unless you know about how, like, the lore in Warhammer, that's going to be incredibly obtuse. And now the way that actual combat works is they compare the unit's defense value and the attack strength value, and from there work out a percentage as to whether or not it's going to do damage. Armor piercing is a percentage taken off of the unit's defense value. So when you're busting heavy tanks, that 20% can make a pretty significant difference, much more so than the actual attack strength necessarily says. Compared to the Sentinel Scout, where it's only got 10% and 40 damage. So yeah, like I said, it's not well documented, and it's something I really do need to work on, but let's just get at her. So, gonna open up with a heavy bolter. I'm out of range of them. They only have a range of 1. So that means I can shoot at them with impunity and not worry about getting damaged. So we'll do that. You can see we chewed through 7 of them there. See if we can finish them off with these infantry. Again, they have a range of 2. These guys with their pistols only have a range of 1, so now I can move this infantry in and capture the hex. Yay, captured my first victory hex. Now, other neat thing with this is the way that the undo move works, is you can undo a move as long as I haven't unselected this unit, or run into an enemy. Like if there was an enemy unit hidden here, it'd actually ambush him. Or if there was an enemy here or here, adjacent to him, it would automatically stop him and have that enemy appear. But new enemies won't appear until I click on somebody else. So now you can see we've got more. These guys have auto guns, so they're a lot more like the las guns. Do a little bit more damage than las guns actually. And so yeah, now we can see more. Oh, and I have a Sentinel too. I forgot about that. So now we can see a bit more. Now, I can't actually shoot at these guys because the buildings block line of sight. So I'm going to need to wait until they either go around or they move into a building, at which point I can attack them. So now this Taros. It's a vehicle. It's got a heavy flamer. Short range, does a lot of damage. 4 shots at 40 damage. So it's an infantry killer. Typically anytime you see something with a high number of shots, it's going to be an infantry killer. The Sentinel is a little suboptimal for dealing with it. I mean, the Taros does not have a lot of armor, and there's 5 units, or 5 vehicles in that unit. But we'll still go and pop the las gun, or las cannon, and we killed 3 of them, so not terrible. Everybody else has moved. Just end our turn. Okay, so he's advanced his Tauros there. The AI in the tutorials is quite limited. Like, it doesn't... it's not very aggressive at all. So, gonna move my Salamander Scout around here. I'm just gonna unselect him, because, aha, see, when I unselect him, I can reselect him and still attack. But we've got another Tauros here, so... Which is a little disappointing that this rock is in the way and I can't target him, because the autocannon is fantastic for taking out light vehicles like that. But we'll chew up this infantry instead. And see, they got return fire that time because he was in range, but Salamander had heavy enough armor. At 51, they didn't actually do any damage to him. So these guys... Gonna advance them. Finish off them. The other important stat too is down here you've got initiative. That just controls who shoots first. So if we look at these guys, they have an initiative of 3, whereas my Imperial Guardsmen here have an initiative of 9. So that means I'll shoot first, and if I manage to wipe out the unit or any casualties that I inflict on the unit, don't get to shoot back, which is nice. Now here, I'm going to... I don't want to move them adjacent to this Tauros, because then they'd suffer return fire from it, which flamethrowers versus infantry tends to be painful, so I'll move them up there. And take them up that way. Move them into that building. Start advancing this down that way and end the turn. And yes, it's telling us about autosaves. So now we've got another flamer here, and I'll show you the difference. So if you remember, the las cannon, even though it does more damage by a significant margin than the autocannon, see what happens when I shoot at this with the autocannon. So I took out 4 of them instead of just 3 like last time. Now I can comfortably move them in, finish them off. Just keep advancing my units. These guys have auto pistols, so let's... And there you see, like, he did 0 damage to it because he shot at them with a friggin' anti-tank gun and they ducked, I guess. But yeah, as you can see, very passive AI in this. So let's advance further. We've got... Ooh, this might hurt next turn, because he's now in range of that Storm Shard mortar. So what I'm going to do... So the Wyvern is an artillery piece. It's got a Storm Shard mortar. Fortunately, it's a fairly cruddy artillery piece, but he could still damage my Salamanders here, and I'm just going to have to take the hit. But we'll advance my Sentinel down there, because if I can get my Sentinel around, take a couple pot shots at him, he's going to do some damage. Oh, still, no aggression. Now, one other nice thing, too, is you notice that the Storm Shard Mortar has a minimum range of 2 hexes. So if I get closer than 2 hexes with it, I'm going to be able to shoot at it with a fair bit of impunity. So my Salamanders are still at full health, so we'll move him around. Now you see it's saying I'm going to take out 6 of them, or do 6 hit points of damage to them. Each one has 2 hit points. There's 3 in the unit, so that means I should wipe out the unit. And I'm going to take 1 hit point of damage in return. So, let's see if that calculation comes out true. Oh, I took 2 hit points of damage because I lost one of my Salamanders. Now here... Can't see nothing. Undo that move. I moved him too close. Because you see, they have a range of 2. This has a range of 3, though, so if I can keep him out of range... do a bit of damage without fear of retaliation. And so exchange of fire there. I came out on the worst for that one. The auto guns are more powerful than las guns, but not the end of the world. So this unit was damaged in combat, and its strength is currently below the maximum. So if I wanted to, now I could get replacements for the unit. It does take its entire turn though. I could also rest and refit, and what resting and refitting does is if it had taken hit point damage, it would recover the hit point damage, but wouldn't replace any of the lost units. It would also recover its morale. You see how the numbers turned yellow? That means it's taken morale damage, which makes it overall just less effective in combat. Not going to bother because I've pretty much got this scenario in the bag, so I'll move him further out of range so they can't return fire. They can't. Sweet. So they've eliminated them now. And victory! I've captured all the victory hexes. We can proceed.
As the Commissar ordered, I've been monitoring your maneuvers, and that was sloppy. You'll need to perform better to face the horrors I have witnessed. Believe me, boy, the Xenos covered every Imperial world. And it's up to the Imperial Guard to stop them. Don't listen to the fairy tales. The Space Marines are all but a myth. They won't be about to save your backside when there's an orc breathing down it.
Greetings, citizens of Armageddon. You may have heard rumors that a large deposit of intersector space debris is floating towards our home. It is true that over the next few days the sky will darken as this phenomenon, designated by the Air Marshal as Alveus Alpha Alpha Sextus, gets closer. But there is no need to panic. I can assure you, this wreck is uninhabited, and I intend to claim salvage rights for the people of Armageddon. Who knows what treasures, what precious archaeotech lie hidden within. This will benefit us all, so stay calm, don't panic, and keep paying those gilded taxes. Oh yes, and bless the Emperor!
So Von Straub is like the...
We take to the jungles. I need to see how your battalion performs in dangerous environmental conditions. So make sure those gas masks are on tight. It won't be all desert plains, boy. You'll have to fight through canyons of fire, acid rivers, burning winds, toxic rains, and trudge through vast patches of gropeweed or Hell's Reach monster, a vile plant. And that's just here in Armageddon. As with the previous mission, you'll be facing Jackson's battalion. I expect you to show him no mercy. When I fought the Eldor and Orgil VX, they were pitiless killers. And so should you be too, if we are to face the Xenos and survive.
Just got word from that paranoid old dog of a commissar. We'll be facing you for the rest of our posting at this crap hole of a hive. You got lucky on that first exercise, but just like at the Scholar, I'm going to teach you a few lessons of my own. See you in the jungle, Commander.
Okay, so I'm actually going to put a cut in here, and then next video, I guess, will be the second scenario here. So yeah, we will see you then. Cheers.